Here's going to be a ranking of all the films in the Alien franchise. Before going in to watch Alien Romulus, I thought I was only going to rewatch the Alien films that came chronologically before that one. That would be Prometheus, Alien Covenant, and the original Alien. Somehow, I ended up rewatching all of the films in the Alien franchise. I guess I was motivated because there was a couple of films I hadn't seen before in Alien Resurrection and AVP Requiem. After that, I figured, I guess we'll do a ranking video just for shits and giggles, I guess. This ranking will go from worst to best, so sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy. Alien 3 is a truly terrible sequel. From the start of the film, it spreads its xenomorph ass cheeks and takes a giant acid-covered shit on the ending of Aliens by killing characters off-screen. After that, though, you're still willing to give the movie a chance. But the setting is boring, the characters are terrible, and the story is so thin that it goes absolutely nowhere. Nowhere but the bottom of my list. I know there's some fans of this film, but I thought Prometheus was pretty bad all around. It's the earliest non-AVP film in the timeline, yet it looks way more futuristic and clean than Alien and Aliens, which is pretty unacceptable given the fact that Ridley Scott, the director of the first Alien, directed Prometheus. The movie is just nauseatingly boring to get through, featuring some of the dumbest scientists you'll ever see in a sci-fi film. In the context of being an alien film, there's an obvious lack of the elements that make those movies popular. It's more in the business of building up the mythology and lore, but it does so in pretty shitty fashion if you ask me.
Big things have small beginnings.
With Alien Resurrection, you know your franchise is in the home stretch of shittiness when it pulls out the old cloning plot point to bring Ripley back. After that, the movie goes through a lot of what I didn't like about Alien 3. It's just pretty lackluster when it comes to the direction and the story. But it's hard to describe why, but something about it was just better than Alien 3. There were a few more interesting scenes, I guess, like the underwater sequence in the ship was pretty impressive. Also, I didn't mind the newborn hybrid at the end. That's right, Romulus Resurrection did it first. But all of this was just putting perfume on an acid turd.
I thought you were dead. Yeah, I get that a lot.
Aliens vs. Predator Requiem is just ultra basic in execution. It's just a slasher story with aliens and predators thrown in there, and you get lackluster filmmaking and characters that are in line with that. Somehow, though, I actually like the fact that the film is unapologetic for what it is. It's just a continual showcase of kills by the creatures, which thankfully the film was rated R, unlike the first AVP. And in all honesty, I'd rather have that than a film that's trying to be something, but just boring the shit out of me. Don't mistake that, though, for me thinking this is a good movie, because it sure as hell is not, and thankfully it is mercifully short.
Rated R opens Christmas Day.
The now 20-year-old crossover between Alien and Predator takes way too long to get going. I also think the general problem in the concept between a crossover between Alien and Predator is that it's not like Freddy vs. Jason or Godzilla vs. Kong, where these are the definitive characters that we've been following through the franchise, and therefore it makes them coming together a lot more meaningful. Also, the fact that this movie was rated PG-13 is pretty unforgivable. Once the real battle starts to happen, though, between the aliens and the Predator halfway through the film, I actually think there's some okay fun to be had. I do think having the Predator team up with a human was a bit much, but the movie comes together in okay-ish fashion as it goes on towards the end. But you'd be really stretching things to call it a good movie, because it's not. Alien Covenant goes in the opposite direction from its predecessor prequel film Prometheus. It would get my vote for definitely having the best gore of the series, with that backbuster scene. Holy shit, was that entire sequence painful, in a good way though. But even with a good amount of your alien-related scenes, the horror and the gore, the best element here has got to be Michael Fassbender's performance as the android David and Walter. It's a brilliant performance, seeing the two sides out of him. The nature of being an android brings a whole lot of tension through the fact that David is a free-thinking droid that really escalates the story. Was never really sure why the movie got hated on by fans, because admittedly, I did like it. Alien Romulus was the first film in the franchise under Disney. As such, the movie ended up being the Force Awakens of the Alien films, and believe it or not, I do mean that as mostly a compliment. It feels like a great hybrid between the best of the franchise with Alien and Aliens, and its look and aesthetic are perfectly in line with the 1979 classic. I also think your younger cast helped freshen things up a bit from the adults we normally follow. The movie was just doing a whole lot of good things with some of the set pieces. Love what they did with the face huggers. The final element of this film, though, was kind of a mixed bag for me. On one hand, the whole sequence started off with some horrific gore, and while the final threat of this film did look very creepy, the movie's ending ended up being the equivalent of blowing up another Death Star at the end of The Force Awakens, to where I asked, oh, for f***'s sakes, how many Alien films are going to end this way? Despite some issues towards the end, I did have a mostly solid time with Alien Romulus, and I would say the Xenomorphs' first trip to Disneyland was a successful one. Compared to its predecessor, 1986 Aliens leans more away from horror and leans more into great sci-fi action and building up the world and mythology. This was Sigourney Weaver's Ripley at her peak. James Cameron's direction was perfect, and your climax with the alien queen was fantastic.
Get away from her, you bitch!
The original Alien from 1979 is an all-time, all-around classic. Its aesthetic and design are timeless given how it's a 70s view of the future, and the movie then delivers on great sci-fi horror. Not through an abundance of gore, but through great build-up, tension, and atmosphere, and it delivers the best film in the Alien franchise. Although that cat would get my vote for worst movie cat of all time, man does it f*** over a lot of the characters in this film. And there you have it with my ranking of all the films in the Alien franchise. Like any franchise, it's had its ups and downs, in all honesty, mostly downs. But given the positive reception to Romulus and a solid box office return after its first weekend, we should be seeing more in the Ballad of the Xenomorphs pretty soon. So that'll do it for this ranking of the Alien films. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.